Everywhere we talk, we make our message simple, and we try to keep it to 3 points. It's sort of a guideline. And of course, we use social networking, which I'm sure everybody probably knows well. We've decided to engage some Vermont celebrities in our campaign. You're looking at Rusty DeWeese, who is a Vermont artist who's created this rural character, and he's well known and well regarded. We are going to, as I say, engage public radio. There's a wonderful Vermont commentator who does storytelling. We have a local sports hero, Hannah Teeter, who won the gold for her snowboarding exploits at the Olympics. And then, of course, we invented ice cream in Vermont. Everybody knows that. So, you know, we're making it neighbor to neighbor because these really do feel like neighbors. Our outreach strategy for the rest is to use the same plan we did in Shrewsbury throughout the 26 towns. We'll find a group in the town, whether it's the nursery school or a conservation commission. We will ask them to ask their neighbors to join us in this process. We will probably make a contribution to the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission for their effort, and probably make that same contribution to any organization that helps us reach the goal that is set for each individual town based on its population. And then horizontally, we're contacting all the service groups we possibly can, Rotaries, Kiwanis clubs. We're working with schools to engage the seniors, for example. Every senior class has a service requirement. We would love our seniors to go door to door where that's an appropriate program. We have plans, for example, to engage Meals on Wheels, to visit to take information to the elderly when they drop lunch off and have a visit, and could explain to the owner of this home that, you know, we could improve this home with it wouldn't be so hard to make that person more comfortable and certainly warmer in their home if they would contact us. So it's the horizontal versus vertical is about the fact that we are finding the organizations, the groups that go kind of across the county as well as down the line of the towns. I mentioned this, town clerks, leadership, energy coordinators. I see, I did that. So I'm coming to some conclusion. The lessons we've learned, networking works. In fact, it works the best. And in forming networks, don't be ashamed to get other people to do your job. That's how we started this process in the first place. A housing agency signed up with the energy organizations and went out to find the people who would benefit from our mutual program. Use the breakthrough strategy. It's great for deliberately seeding early wins, testing your innovations, testing the bigger ideas, getting more people involved, and talking as they did in Shrewsbury and will now to the other towns. And it's also good for answering that question from your doubters and from your supporters, have you got any results yet? That's where we are, lessons learned from that first effort. There's absolute confirmation of what we knew before we started. Quality of the service is what matters the most. We're not there yet, but we have started the outreach effort, and I hope somehow this has helped you think of ways, not that we did it, but of ways that you could do something similar. That is the conclusion. Oops.
Great. Thank you so much, Ludi. We have quite a few questions from some of our audience members, so we'll turn to that now. The first one is a little bit general. We'll start off with that from Chris. And he was just wondering about using media, why use media outreach when maybe the neighbor-to-neighbor approach has been so successful? What kind of balance might you try to find there? And are there different, do you get different reactions from different socioeconomic classes?
Well, it's an excellent question. And our approach to media is really as a backup, not as a leading indicator, so to speak, but as a backup to the neighbor-to-neighbor strategy. Our budget for media is very small compared to most projects I've ever seen. It's really to have something to leave behind or something to remind people when they've heard it from their neighbor-to-neighbor contact. Assuming that everybody has to hear something 7 times before they actually hear it or before they act on it. It's a reinforcement, but it's not where we start. It's what we use to mop up from behind. And yes, we do have different messages for different socioeconomic groups. I think we're fortunate in Vermont in that we all mix pretty well. It's a little bit like the House of Representatives chamber last night where everybody was mixing. We don't segregate as much here as we might in other more populated areas, but we definitely know that there are education differences, income differences, and there are responses according to those differences. So we have some in some of our celebrities, we chose, the sports star for the young family, and then the VPR commentator will probably reach and be heard by the more educated, higher income sector that listens to public radio more frequently. But I hope that answers that question.
Great, thanks. And a few people are wondering what the average cost is of each retrofit.
The average cost has been $6,500. The lowest I think was $2,000, and in some cases where households are getting a boiler or a more substantial home improvement, it's exceeded $15,000. But the average has been, we have, I didn't share, we have residents from other parts of the state that have, or other parts of the county who've called in just from reading the articles in the Rutland Herald or something, and we have some bigger costs, but the average is $6,500.
And do you have a sense of why people don't take you up on the retrofits after they've had an audit?
Well, we haven't had too many not take us up on the retrofit after the audit. We're still waiting for a lot of the audit reports to come back and a lot of communication with the households. Clearly, it would be the same everywhere. There just isn't enough cash available to make the investment in the improvements. And that is one of the barriers that we hope to overcome by our loan product. I didn't really go into our loan product, but it's designed to help the household actually cash flow positively so that the cost of the loan is hopefully less, not much more than the savings they'll achieve by the improvements. And again, customer service includes illustrating that to the household instead of the fearful or the sort of one fact, well, you'll have another loan to pay. We can show them you'll have another loan to pay off, but it will be paid off with the savings from your improvements as much as possible. We're even offering a 6-month holiday before the loan payments start coming due so that we give the household time to get the improvements in place and see the savings occurring. we hope that, as I say, all of this hands-on one-to-one education, answering questions, illustrating the benefits will have a, will show phenomenal conversion from audit to retrofit. And we have, we'll have to tune in a year from now to really tell you if it did work.
Great. Well, we have another question from Adrian, who's asking about how you guys work with the local utility there. Did they do audits for you or recommend contractors, or do they subsidize any of the retrofit work apart from funding, federal funding that you guys might have gotten?
We work with Efficiency Vermont. Efficiency Vermont has a very long and successful record of providing the technical services, the education, the et cetera. They have trained contractors throughout the state with BPI certification. They've had a very successful universe of contractors. 17 of the contractors are working with us currently. I may have forgotten your question, but I think the question was, how are we working with the utility? They
Yeah, exactly.
they train the auditors, but the auditors are now working under our coordination so that we can stay on top of whether or not they get their reports in on time. That's part of our customer service aspect, making sure that people don't wait weeks and weeks and weeks to get a report, or weeks more for somebody to come back and finish the work.
Great. And do you guys, we have a question about renters and landlords and how NeighborWorks might approach that, somebody who's renting and might not actually own the place. And have you guys dealt with that, or have kind of an approach for dealing with energy consumption that way?
Our target right now for this grant is single-family residents and single-family residents that might include rental units up to 4. We have had instances of landlords, with 4 units or occasionally more, calling us and asking for services. We've done audits, and we've done some work for those landlords. We've had some cases where a resident in a rental unit has called, and we're happy to contact the landlord and offer our services. Again, because we are fortunate enough to have a lending program that is simple and easy to access, it's often easier to talk everybody into actually going into action for that, for the efficiencies.